Okay. Now it's on okay. All right. This is going to be a little. I'm under a little bit of stress right now. But we're going to do the last component of reading the entire orally transmitted teachings, which is the most important writing any of you could master, which is why I'm going to do my best to go through it again a second time right as soon as I'm done. And I know that I said I would read the major writings. That's a refutation of Amida Buddhism, of true words. Or I'm not true word, but Nimbutsu. So I'm not that anxious to do it as an important thing that I need to do for the sake of Kosen Rufu. But the Daishonin left all of those major treatises that confront those issues with other schools in a very profound way. So it has to be explained at the level that he explained it. Okay, so it's time consuming, but it's not essential. None of us are chanting Amida and need to be convinced not to do it. Okay, so I'm not taking it and putting it on a back burner. I'm saying when we get together, I'll do those major writings. But I'm going to start recording this almost every other day. Okay, so please keep track and please keep updated on the YouTube channel as they appear. You'll want to know that's where the refresh is on this as the second time through. If and believe me, trust me, you'll need it. Now, I don't care how capable you think you are, you're going to need it. Okay, that's why we're recording it, so that it can be reviewed and reviewed and reviewed and reviewed. Okay, so at any rate, I have a couple of things. I have more. There's I probably have. Can you see there? I have all of those things. Anything you see in brown, that's all from the library. Okay, and I was going to get into all that because, believe it or not, I got a translation of On the Mystic Principle of True Cause. Okay, and I was going to share that with you, but I'm going to wait to share that with you. Okay, until I'm sure that I have correct understanding myself. I mean, again, there's different levels of complexity that you could read any of these writings with. If you read the original Japanese, none of them are going to be as simple as reading them in English. It's a fact, because there's just so many different things that an individual character can mean in Japanese. Okay, words in English usually have pretty kind of definitive definitions and meanings. So what I'm saying is that I've gotten several versions of the translation, and some of them are so deep that I understand why it hasn't been translated. It's a secret teaching, frankly. I already qualified that last time we were together. So let me work on that. That'll be a work in process. But what I want to get through here are a couple of really important things that I'm going to be skipping through pretty quickly. This is from the Expedient Means chapter. As I read these last 14 chapters summary, okay, keep in mind the entire sutra and everything that we've been talking about for almost 2 years now, right? Okay, it says, if from past Buddhas, when they were in the world, this is from the Expedient Means chapter on page 74, when they were in the world or after their extinctions, there should be those who heard this law. Then all who have attained the Buddha way, the world-honored ones in the future, because in other words, if any of us attain the Buddha way, we will come back as Buddhas. And therefore the teachings will be preserved through our reincarnations, our migrations, if nothing else, okay? It says, the world-honored ones of the future. So he's speaking to us right now in the Lotus Sutra in chapter 2, all right? When the world-honored ones of the future, those numbers will be incalculable, because it's everyone that Daishonin is now qualified, right, in the orally transmitted teachings. It's not conveyed here in the Lotus Sutra, but it is conveyed here in the OTT. All right. So he's actually speaking about teachings that were not clarified until Nichiren did in the OTT. Okay. So you can think you know what the Lotus Sutra is saying. And frankly, what translation are you reading? What language are you reading it in? And how many scholars have you already preceded you to qualify these issues? Okay, So it's not simple. It's very complex. It's very profound. But it doesn't have to be so profound if you just have faith. Okay? If you just have faith, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Okay? To understand things before they can actually affect who you are.
Yes.
Okay? So it says, if from past Buddhas when they were in the world or after their extinctions there should be those who heard this law, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, then all have attained the Buddha way. The world-honored ones of the future, those numbers will be incalculable. These thus come ones will also employ expedient means to preach the law. And all of these thus come ones through countless expedient means will save and bring release to living beings so that they will enter the Buddha wisdom free from outflows. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the Buddha wisdom free from outflows. It's the original state. It's the only one. If there are others, or if there are those who hear the law, then not a one of them will fail to attain Buddhahood. The original vow of the Buddhas, plural, was that the Buddha way, which they themselves practice, which is all of us, should be shared universally among living beings so that they too may likewise attain this way. The Buddhas of future ages, although they preach hundreds, thousands, millions, and a countless number of doctrines in truth, they do so for the sake of the single vehicle of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The Buddha's most honored of the two-legged beings know that phenomena have no constantly fixed nature. No, we're temporary gatherings of the five components, and everything else in the phenomenal realm as well. Know that phenomena have no constantly fixed nature, and that the seeds of Buddhahood sprout through causation. What we're doing now is what makes Buddhism continue to grow for the sake of all living beings. And for this reason, they preach the single vehicle, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That these phenomena are part of an abiding law, that their characteristics of the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding. This they have come to know in the place of enlightenment. And as leaders and teachers, they preach expedient means, that because he's talking about the former and the middle day of the law, right? None of this is really applicable in the latter day. This is a provisional teaching in the latter day. And why? Because it doesn't include Nam-myoho Renge-kyo as part of its expression of attainment of Buddhahood in your present form. This is all theoretical, okay? Is what I'm saying, until there's somebody who comes along and does it, all right? And I want to remind you again from the separate transmission, each passage of each chapter, the essential passage in each chapter. This is going back to the parable of the medicinal herbs would have been last week. I just want to read this again. Again, there are sons of the Buddha who devote their minds solely to the Buddha way, constantly practicing mercy and compassion, knowing that they themselves will attain Buddhahood, knowing they themselves are Buddhists. That's why they can preach the law the way they do. Glosses on the right, constantly, the three existences of past, present, and future. Mercy and compassion, the daimoku. They themselves, all living beings. Glosses on the left, devote their minds to have full command of. The only way you can have full command of is to understand what this is saying. Constantly means that always, every moment, they're worried about, are they going to get the job done here? And so they must go through whatever it takes to do that. Summary, this passage makes absolutely clear that the attainment of Buddhahood in times to come, of the attainment of Buddhahood, because only Buddhists feel this way, that it refers to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, let me jump ahead to the next one. The essential teaching. I'm going to read this again, even though we've read it before, because it's going to just mention the Gosho that I was talking about, which will be coming very shortly. The teaching expounded by one, essential teaching, also original teaching. That's what we try to teach. The teaching expounded by Shakyamuni from the perspective of his true identity as the Buddha who attained enlightenment countless kalpas ago. It consists of countless kalpas ago was not a beginningless time. Okay, it consists of the latter 14 chapters of the Lotus Sutra, from the emerging from the earth 15th through the universal worthy 28th chapter. In words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra, Tentai classifies the content of the sutra into two parts. The first 14 chapters are theoretical teaching, also known as trace teachings, and the latter 14 chapters, or essential teaching, original teaching. So as I said last time, anytime he mentions trace teachings, he's talking about the first 14 chapters and previously. Okay? Means provisional teachings. He further explains that Shakyamuni expounded these two teachings from two respectively different identities. The Shakyamuni Buddha who attained enlightenment in India expounded the theoretical teaching, while the Shakyamuni who cast off his transient identity as the Buddha enlightened in that lifetime in India and revealed his true identity as the Buddha who attained enlightenment in the remote past, expounded in the essential teaching. Tentai identified the Buddha of the essential teaching as the true Buddha, and the Buddha of theoretical teaching as the true Buddha's provisional manifestation, or a provisional Buddha. He respectively compared the relationship between them and between their teachings and that of them as being that of a moon and the sky, its reflection on the surface of a pond. In contrast with the theoretical teaching, which represents the Buddhahood as a potential in the lives of all people, the essential teaching describes it as a reality manifest in the eternal life of the true Buddha. Okay? The core of the essential teaching is the lifespan 16th chapter, which reveals Shakyamuni's enlightenment in the distant past of major world system dust particle Kalpas. Goyaku Jintingo, I believe that is. Moreover, it reveals the three mystic principles, the true effect, the original enlightenment that Shakyamuni attained. Now notice it jumped right over true cause. Okay, it says three mystic principles. The true effect, the original enlightenment that Shakyamuni Buddha attained in the remote past, the true cause, the practice he carried out to attain that enlightenment, which is at first I practiced the Bodhisattva way. We're not talking about the original state then again. I'm trying to make the distinction between the way the Daishonin has clarified all this and the way that it was still being taught for all the time up until the latter day and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo appeared. Okay, so the practice he's carried out to attain that enlightenment, and the true land, the Buddha, where the land where the Buddha lives and teaches together, they clarify the reality of the Buddha's enlightenment. Okay, in his writings, Nichiren sometimes used the term essential teaching to indicate the essential teaching of the latter day of the law, that is the teaching of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The object of devotion for observing the mind reads, the essential teaching of Shakyamuni's lifetime and that revealed by Nichiren at the beginning of the latter day are both pure and perfect, and that both lead directly to Buddhahood. There is no conflict in Buddhism between Shakyamuni's teachings and Nichiren's teachings. The only difference is the time in which they're applied. Okay? That's really it. Shakyamuni's taken it as far as can go, theoretically. It's waiting for the true thing to be revealed in the fifth 500-year period. And none of it can come together cohesively until the fifth 500-year period. Okay? That's what Nichiren had on his mind the whole time. He knew what period he lived in. He knew that the sutra is that prophesizes the loss of power after the middle and the former and the middle day. Okay, so if I keep reading, it'll all say that. The core of his teaching is the essential teaching of Shakyamuni's lifetime and that revealed by Nichiren at the beginning of the latter day are both pure and perfect in that both lead directly to Buddhahood, okay? It's not saying that Shakyamuni's teaching is one thing and mine is another, and that his is bad and mine is good, okay? It's saying that at the beginning of the latter day are both pure and perfect in that both lead directly to enlightenment. Shakyamuni's, however, is the Buddhism of the harvest, and this is the Buddhism of sowing. The core of his teaching is the 1 chapter and 2 halves, and the core of mine, which he's qualifying mine, is the 5 characters of the Daimoku alone. Nichiren thus identified Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the teaching he revealed at the beginning of the latter day, as the essential teaching for that age. Now, from this viewpoint, in the same treatise, Nichiren states the difference between the theoretical teaching and the essential teaching is as great as that between heaven and earth. Nevertheless, even the difference between the doctrine of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life and the theoretical teaching and that of the essential teaching pales into insignificance compared to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That difference pales into insignificance when it is compared with the difference between the essential teaching, that is the latter half of the Lotus Sutra. That's the comparison of the 14 chapters of the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra and the essential teaching revealed by Nichiren at the beginning of the latter day of the law, or Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So he qualifies, there's no comparison between the two as an expedient to bring forth your Buddhahood in your present form. All right? It says, and hence he termed his essential teaching the unique essential teaching on the mystic principle of the true cause, a writing he gave his his immediate successor, Nico. See also the 5-fold view of revelation, which I need to get to right now. 5-fold view of revelation, because this is how we read everything. This is how I read everything to you, okay? 5-fold view of revelation, an analysis of the Buddhist teachings that appears in the object of devotion for the observation of the mind, okay? So it's a very important gosho. Everybody should have read it multiple times and understand it thoroughly if they practice the Daishonen's teaching with any real sincerity. Okay, so you have to understand what is the object of devotion for observing the mind, because if you constantly talk at a meeting about the Gohonzon, and you never understand that is a transient status of the Buddhahood of Nichiren, okay, that it's the same enlightenment as yours. I'm going to go hit that in a minute, where I already said, from the chapter 13, the Soku-ri is the same as the Soku whatever. The Buddha and the common moral are identical. There's no difference between them. It's what's happening in their minds. Is the reward mind activated? Has it appeared? Has it become manifest? So the 5-fold view of revelation, an analysis of the Buddhist teachings that appear in the object of devotion for observing the mind, a treatise completed in 1273 by Nichiren. Revelation means that the truth that the Buddha's plural, impart. A teaching of revelation is preceded by a teaching of preparation, which readies people to receive the truth, and is followed by a teaching of transmission, which urges the truth revealed to be transmitted to posterity. This is a very important thing for you guys to understand. Chinese Buddhist scholars classified the sutras according to these 3 divisions of preparation, revelation, and transmission. In the above treatise, Nichiren applies the 3 divisions to 1, all of Shakyamuni's teachings; 2, the 3-fold Lotus Sutra, which includes the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra, the 8-volume Lotus Sutra, and the Universal Worthy Sutra in its entirety, and the theoretical first half of the Lotus Sutra. 4, the essential teaching, latter half of the sutra, and the teaching. And 5, the teaching implicit in the lifespan, 16th chapter of the Lotus Sutra. His purpose in doing so is to show that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the very teaching to be practiced and propagated in the latter day of the law. Okay, now I want to qualify something to you. In reality, where does Nam-myoho Renge-kyo come from? Yes, you can say that it's from hidden in the depths of the 16th chapter. Who read the 16th chapter and found it hidden in the depths there? Nichiren. Okay, and how did he do that? What did he utilize for the sake of coming up with that conclusion? That it's the latter day of the law, and I've just now understood everything clearly as it should be understood. That had to come from his own mind. Okay, that had to come from his reward mind, okay, perceiving his dharma body, his reward body, perceiving his dharma body, being able to be expressed thanks to his physical body, right? So what I'm trying to say is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo isn't to be found anywhere other than in the minds of Nichiren.
Yes.
Okay, in reality, if you want to go to where did it really come from, it really came from the mind of Nichiren. Now, who has he said is his exact copy? Who has the same mind as Nichiren?
All of us.
All of us. Okay, so we all have that original state.
Yes.
That's only available in the fifth 500-year period and beyond for the 10,000 years of Mappo. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we read things, we've got to read it and understand it, how it might have been understood by people of Tentai's time, how it might have been discerned by Dengyo after, Chang'an and Myolo and whoever else has commented on it. Okay, but those are all theoretical teachings, and those teachings are not from the sutra. Those are extrapolations from the sutra, don't forget. Right? So they're not actually teachings from the Buddha. They are coming from Buddhas that said so. I read it to you. Buddhas, plural. Okay, so Tentai's a Buddha. Myolo's a Buddha. All those dudes are Buddhas too, just like Shakyamuni. They're Buddhas of the transient teachings of the former and the middle day.
Yes.
They're disciples of Shakyamuni. He might have been their original teacher, but they're teaching his teaching.
Yes.
Their extrapolations are coming from his teaching. Nichiren's is coming from an epiphany of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo that's singularly coming from his mind, that happens to fit all the gaps that he knows are there from studying everything else, and it's never been clarified, it's never been qualified, it's never been named. And name is the first of the 5 major principles, right? Okay, so it's the most important thing.
Yes.
All right? So let me read the last paragraph here of Fivefold View of Revelation. This is really Nichiren's teaching. A summary of the fivefold revelation a summary of the fivefold view of revelation is as follows. 1, from the standpoint of all of Shakyamuni's teachings, preparation is presented by the sutras of the flower garland, agama, correct and equal, and wisdom periods, that is the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings. Revelation is presented by the threefold. Okay, so preparation was all the provisional teachings, okay? Revelation was from the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra, when he comes out of his samadhi and says, in more than 40 years, I have not yet revealed the truth. Okay, there's still something pending. I've been saying it's this and this and this and this, but I haven't really told you because you weren't ready and you couldn't handle it. Okay, so that was preparation, was from the standpoint of the threefold Lotus Sutra. Preparation consists of the Immeasurable Meanings Sutra and the introduction, first chapter of the Lotus Sutra. Revelation extends from the Expedient Means chapter through the first half of the Distinctions and Benefits, 17th chapter, and transmission includes the second half of the Distinction and Benefits chapter through the Universal Worthy, 28th chapter, and includes the Universal Worthy Sutra. In terms of the theoretical teaching, so in other words, it's all broken. It's broken down into different components based on how you're reviewing the same teaching. Okay, all of this is exactly the same, but it's being qualified as something different in each one of these fivefold ways of looking at it. Okay, and so now we're going to get into the theoretical. We've already gotten into the provisional, right? Talking about preparation was the agamas, and then we're talking about the immeasurable meanings and all that. Okay, now he's going to qualify ultimately. I'm going to try and get to the bottom here and make my point. In terms of the teachings of the lifespan chapter, I'm going all the way to the bottom. The bottom line is that the Daishonin views everything not from the chapters of the Lotus Sutra. He views it from the reality of his teaching of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. He's basically saying, which is only in the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra, right? So in terms of the teaching of the lifespan, so it gets, okay, let me go backwards, sorry. All right, 4, from the viewpoint of the essential teaching, okay, from the essential teaching is the essential teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Preparation comprises the first half of the emerging from the earth 15th chapter. We're talking about the last 14 chapters now, right? What I'm going to discuss. Yep. Revelation includes the second half of the emerging from the earth chapter and the lifespan chapter. And the first half, that's the one chapter in the two halves. And the first half of the distinction and benefits. So half of the 15th, all of the 16th, and the first half of the 17th, right? That collectively is known as the one chapter in the two halves, and transmission extends from the second half of the distinctions and benefits chapter. Transmission extends from the second half of distinctions and benefits chapter through the universal worthy chapter and includes the universal worthy chapter. Now, 5, the fifth way to look at it when we're talking about the fivefold view of Revelation. In terms of the teachings implicit in the lifespan chapter, that is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Preparation is represented by the teachings of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions throughout the 3 existences, which I could cry to even just say that. Preparation is all the teachings of all the Buddhas from all 10 directions throughout the 3 existences. Revelation by Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the law implicit in the lifespan chapter, and transmission by the teachings of all the Buddhas read in the light of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, so transmission is reading everything in the light of the Buddhism of sowing, not the Buddhism of harvest. Okay, do you understand? That's the huge difference, and that's what you have to keep in mind when you're trying to explain this to anybody else. We don't view it like we're disciples of Shakyamuni. No. Frankly speaking, we didn't just fall off the truck. We're from the beginning people, okay? So we believe the entirety of all of this stuff has always been there. It's just never been revealed until the 5th 500-year period, when it was possible to be revealed and make any sense because there was a teacher that could explain it. Okay? Now, if it's Shakyamuni's teaching, why isn't he explaining? Because he explained a lot of teachings.
Yes.
Okay? Why didn't he get into this teaching? He's not the original Buddha. Originally, he practiced the Bodhisattva way.
Yeah.
Okay, the Bodhisattva way is to discover the original state of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and live accordingly as a Bodhisattva of the earth.
Yes.
Doesn't happen to people in the former and the middle day of the law on earth. Okay? All right, so I got my point across, I think.
Yes.
And I won't get into that. 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 Oh man, there's so much stuff I was going to go. The perfect teaching. I do have to get into the perfect teaching. Okay, what is the perfect teaching? Another way to say the perfect teaching is also round teaching. A teaching lacking in nothing. So what is the perfect teaching? One that includes everything, right? That's the roundness. It includes everything. Okay? What includes everything? What is everything then? Does that not include all the other sutras, all the other Buddhas, all the other everything that we talk about now as being provisional, okay, not to be adhered to in the latter day? We view everything through the perspective of the latter day of the law and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. But the perfect teaching is one that includes all of that. Did I not just read to you that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo does include all that? I just read to you that all of those other teachings were preparation for Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. They were the preparation versus transmission, right? Okay, so Let me just read this also, round teaching. A teaching lacking in nothing. There is nothing other than this that is lacking in nothing. This doesn't lack Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It is full and complete. Right. That's what a perfect teaching is. Okay? Now, up until Nichiren's 500-year period, it was theoretically perceived to be the definition of the Makashikan, contained within the Makashikan, because it theoretically did describe exactly the same thing. Do you understand? Okay? The 51st and 52nd stages are still aspects of our process of attaining Buddhahood in our present form. Okay? So, it's not different. It's the same, but much clearer, much stronger, much for the time and for the empowerment that comes with it. Do you want to be a transient Buddha or a true Buddha? True Buddha. Right? Okay, so that's why we're born now and why we go through what we go through, and that's why this is what it is. The supreme teaching of Buddhism. Buddhist sutras were introduced from India to China virtually at random over the centuries, and many attempts were made to organize and classify this vast array of teachings into coherent systems. What this is the top of the pyramid of that process. Okay? In such systems of classification, the sutra was ranked highest was called the perfect teaching. For example, Hui Kwang divided the Buddhist teachings into 3 categories: gradual, sudden, and perfect, and designated the flower garden as perfect teaching. Gentai also classified Shakyamuni's teachings according to content and established the 4 teachings of doctrine, the agamas, the flower garland, agama, correct and equal, and wisdom. In this system of classification, he termed the last of the 4 teachings of doctrine the perfect teaching, right? The Lotus and Nirvana is the perfect teaching according to the divisions that Tentai did, right? Okay. The other 3 being the Tripitaka teaching, the connecting teaching, and the specific teaching, okay, which he also defined as those other. Tripitaka is agamas, the connecting teaching is pre-Mahayana, and the specific teaching is the pre-Lotus Sutra Mahayana. Okay. In addition, he defined 2 categories of perfect teaching, that expounded in the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings and that taught in the Lotus Sutra. Okay, so he had 2 kinds of perfect teachings flowing, which you can't. You only can have one perfect teaching that's actually the round teaching that encompasses everything. At his time, in that age, it could be called and referred to as the perfect teaching, but not after the advent of Nichiren and the invocation of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So he goes through both the concept of the attainment of Buddhahood by ordinary persons. Tentai points out that the former teachings teaches it. Tentai points out that the former teaches it in name only. That is, with no example of it ever having occurred, and draws from various distinctions and exceptions to qualify enlightenment in your present form. Okay, we now call that fake enlightenment. That's not true enlightenment, right? The latter teaches that all people can, without exception, attain enlightenment, illustrating it with examples. The term perfect teaching is synonymous with the Lotus Sutra in the tradition stemming from Tentai's, including Nichiren's. I'll see also the 4 teachings of doctrine, which I won't get into. And let me just zoom through this. The 5 guides for propagation I won't bother you with. The 5-fold comparison, I believe I just already have gone through 5 major principles. That's named whatever. I won't go through that because I'm not got true cause. I will read when we do true cause, and the teacher of true cause. I will do that too. Okay, so let's get into this so that I can get it done in time. All right, so now we're going to go to page 214. We're on the emerging from earth, right?
Yeah.
All right. So at the bottom of page 214, emerging from the earth, from the orally transmitted teachings by Nichiren Daishonin, text referring to the Lotus Sutra, and in order that day and night that with constant diligence they may seek the Buddha way. Okay. Alternative reading. constant diligence day and night. This has always been the way to seek the Buddha way. Summary. This passage is saying that if in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, then after instant there will arise in us the 3 Buddha bodies with which we are eternally endowed. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is just such a diligent practice. But what is this really saying then? Let me start at the top. And in order that day and night with constant diligence, are we not encouraged to be able to perceive the Gohonzon in everything? Hello, guys. Yes or no? Right? Okay, so you're trying to perceive the Gohonzon. You're trying to perceive what this is teaching. Okay, as the original state. That they may seek the Buddha way. That they may find a way to become Buddhas in their present form. Okay? So they're making the actions and the causes. That's what the first part says. That they'll be able to become Buddhas exactly as they are. Okay, alternative reading. Great diligence day by day, day and night. This has always been the Buddha way. Only those of us that are serious enough to take this to the point that we really study and understand it, to the point that we can explain it to others and become teachers of the law. That's the only real duta. Diligence is duta, right? It's devotion, right? What is devotion? It means constantly day and night. That's what devotion means. If it's to Jesus or if it's to the law, it doesn't matter. Devotion is devotion. Constant diligence is constant diligence. It doesn't mean occasionally when you feel like it. Okay? I just need you to make that because you can't become a Buddha otherwise. It says right here. Because the thing below it is saying this passage, but what happens when we do this? So how do we express this before we've actually attained Buddhahood? We do Gongyo every day, and we chant Daimoku every day to the Gohonzon. That is constantly day and night. That's the constant diligence that he's talking about, okay? So what it's saying is that at some point in time in your practice, if you study and you've come to realize that it exists in the 16th chapter of the orally transmitted teaching that you're already a Buddha and all you have to do is realize that to be that, okay? You, in that moment, whenever that occurs, because you'll read it and you'll hear it and you'll hear me talking about it and you still won't feel it. It's from your chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon and showing this constant diligence. I can't pass this on to you if you've not done that. This single moment of life won't occur because of anything that has to do with me. It'll occur because of everything that has to do with you. Okay, so that's all this is saying. This passage is saying if in a single moment of life, because in that single moment of life that we realize that we are the Buddha, we change our karma from the past and we change our karma in the future. Okay, so that wipes out. That's what he's talking. We wipe out in that instant. We exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas of waiting to get to that point. Okay, or trying to help others to get to that point if we've been there since the beginning, like I believe we have been. Okay, the people that I'm talking to. Okay, because I don't think you could be separated from me were we not all together. Okay, so the bottom line, the passage is saying that if in a single moment of life, that moment when you realize stage 6, you're not a Buddha in theory anymore. I'm a Buddha in reality. We change our karma. We exhaust all the pains and trials of millions of kalpas. And then instant after instant, we become the Buddha in our present form. There will arise in us the 3 Buddha bodies with which we are eternally endowed. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is just such a diligent practice that we chant every day to the Gohonzon that brings forth this life state, this understanding. You with me?
Yes.
Okay, page 215, top 16. The lifespan of the thus come one. Text, the thus come one, and that was clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I start getting too hyperbolic, let me know, because you know what I've been through this week. All right? Text, the thus come one perceives the true aspect of the threefold world exactly as it is. There is no ebb or flow of birth and death. And I think that's from point 3, if I'm not mistaken, or point 4 from the chapter 16. It says, summary. This passage states that to perceive that all the 10,000 phenomena, and notice this is going straight into summary, so he's not telling you to bring your Buddhahood forth to understand this any differently than he's saying it. He's saying summary. This passage states that to perceive that all the 10,000 phenomena are the eternally endowed 3 bodies of the Buddha is what is called perceiving the true aspect of the threefold world. So what did that just say? Okay. Scared the shit out of me. All right, what is that saying? This passage states that to perceive that all the 10,000 phenomena, what is that talking about? The entire Dharma realm, everything that you come into contact with, your reality, okay, your life, that you're, okay, so that if then you got to perceive that everybody else is that too. Okay? Or you don't really perceive it correctly about you. Okay? The reason it's true about you is because it's true about everyone, not the other way around. Okay? Okay, so because it's that vision and understanding of all others that a Buddha has. Okay? Not a bodhisattva thinking about me and benefits and someday a Buddha as you are, right? So it said this passage states that to perceive that all the 10,000 phenomena, that the entire Dharma realm are eternally endowed with the 3 bodies of the Buddha, that everything else is also Buddha, those plants, that wall, that everything that's a living being has the 3 bodies, right? So everything in the phenomenal realm has the 3 bodies, right? So that's what that just said. This passage states that to perceive that all the 10,000 phenomena are the eternally endowed 3 bodies of the Buddha is what is called perceiving the true aspect, because you're not seeing in their defiled aspect. You're seeing them in the true aspect of the original state. You're seeing them as Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. You're seeing everything as Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, not to qualify things as, oh, you're Nam Myoho, Nam Myoho, Nam Myoho. You're seeing this as a Buddha sees it, inseparable. And the inseparability is what's creating that. Okay? Okay, that is perceiving the true aspect of the threefold world. That is the true state of existence, the state of your own mind. That's what you're always going to reflect no matter what lifetime you're in. Okay? That's why you want to take it to the 9th consciousness at the end. Since they are the enlightened entity, wow, what's that say? Since they, and when he say they, who's he talking about? He's talking about all the phenomena of the 10,000 phenomena of the Dharma realm, right? All that is the enlightened entity that is eternally endowed. You can't inject Nam Myoho Renge Kyo into anything. It exists in everything. Okay? So it cannot be separated, right? Okay. So that again, if you're perceiving everything else to be Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, then you understand clearly that everything has the 3 bodies, right? Everything has the potential for Buddhahood. Everything has the potential for Buddhahood. And that is eternally endowed. And so then he asks a simple question, how could then one say that there is any birth and death? And that's supposed to be your reassurance that you are going to come back forever and ever and ever and ever. Just believe what the sutra says, believe his teaching. Okay? All right. Distinctions and benefits, 17. Is everything okay?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Text. And if he holds distinctions and benefits, text from the sutra. And if he holds to the blessings of this single-mindedness, and with it seeks the unsurpassed way. This passage is saying that all the 10,000 practices and 10,000 good deeds are solely for the purpose of manifesting the three bodies the three bodies inherent in the originally enlightened single mind. Since good and evil are a single entity, it is called the blessings of the single-mindedness or a single mind. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the blessing of single-mindedness or a single mind. All right, what is the single mind? The blessings of this single-mindedness. What is that single-mindedness actually?
Faith?
Buddhahood.
Oh, Buddha. Okay.
Buddhahood, which only comes from faith. Yeah, better be faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because faith, you don't have Buddhahood without faith. So yes, that is more, okay. But the blessings of this single-mindedness is to attain the mind of Nichiren. Okay, to be of the same mind as Nichiren. Now, it's got a lot of different expressions. But to be of the same mind of Nichiren is the most important one in the latter day of the law. Because then you perceive all the teachings as you've been taught them by Nichiren to perceive them. Do you understand? Yes. Don't look at them from an old way. Okay? Look at it from the way that you perceive it now. Even if your mom and dad are Soka Gakkai members and taught you something other than what I'm saying right now, please reread this and make sure that this is what it says and I'm not bullshitting you, and have the compassion to disagree with them the next time they misstate the truth. They're on the path, but they're not going to get that three bodies unless they understand how to tie into it. They all have the three bodies. Even evil people have the three bodies. There's nobody without three bodies. But they only manifest when you attain Buddhahood.
Right.
That's when they become active and real. Okay, I'll say it again. Distinctions and benefits, text, and if he holds to the blessings of this single-mindedness, of the mind of Buddha, and with it seeks the unsurpassed way. With that mind, seeking mind to the Gohonzon, I want to attain Buddhahood in my present form. This passage is saying that all the 10,000 practices and 10,000 good deeds, what are all those? That's everybody everywhere trying themselves to do whatever it is that they're trying to do to be better people, to get to this enlightened state that we're guaranteed to get to. Do you understand? And he's trying to say they're not discluded. They are included. This is the round teaching. This is the perfect teaching. Even evil people are included in this. Even asuras are included in this. Okay? So that's why he's saying, are solely for the purpose of manifesting the three bodies inherent in the originally enlightened single mind. That originally enlightened single mind contained both good and evil. It didn't just start out as good and then only become evil later. The defiled state is delusion, okay, and slander. But this is what this is talking about, is the fact that Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the perfect teaching. As the perfect teaching, it includes all the bad people too.
Yes.
And all the mistakes they've made and all the things they've tried to do the right way are not counted against them. Okay? They're just not really counted for them. They don't advance until they find the path of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right? Then, that's what he says. Good and evil are a single entity. It is called the blessings of the single-mindedness or a single mind. We don't see evil people as evil people. We see them as people endowed with the three bodies. There's a potential for them, like me. Okay? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the blessing of single-mindedness or the single mind of Buddhahood. Okay? Because we're at the point in time we're all Buddhas, it's because of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right? We've all attained Buddhahood the same way all Buddhas do, through Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. 18, benefits of responding with joy. Text, saying this sutra is profound and wonderful, hard to encounter in 10,000 kalpas. Summary, this passage, he's going straight into it. This is the way it is. This passage is saying that since all things are the wonderful law, The manifesting of this fundamental principle inherent in the single mind is a very wonderful and unparalleled action. That's why it lasts eternally. Do you understand? That's why you only have to become a Buddha once to be a Buddha forever. All right? It is the wonder of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which has existed within you since Kuan. It is the original state, okay? Everybody's with me on that as well, right? Okay, so the benefits of the teacher of the law, chapter 19, text, by detecting their scent, he knows all those who enter meditation or emerge from meditation. Glosses on the right, enter meditation, quietude, emergence from meditation, release from quietude. Now this gets heavy. Glosses on the left, enter meditation, the unchanging and eternal truth, death, non-substantiality. Where are you at when you're in non-substantiality? What world are you present in non-substantiality? It's not no world, or there wouldn't be a ninth consciousness. Okay, there are different levels of consciousness. Emerge from meditation, the wisdom of the truth that functions in accordance with changing circumstances, life, which is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So again, what is qualifying here is that that when we enter Ku and we come out of Ku, you could qualify that as an extended period of a big samadhi. We go out of life, we leave life in the life state of Buddhahood. That's why we're born into the life state of Buddhahood. Do you understand? As something that will find us, as something that we will manifest. It's not a by chance thing anymore. We've assured it. Summary. This passage is saying that when the single mind, a single mind is my single mind, okay, is in a state of quietude, this is to enter meditation. And when the single mind is released from quietude, this is to emerge from meditation. Now I got all the noise of the 9 realms around me. If I'm hanging in the 9th consciousness, do you think there's going to be a lot of farts? There's going to be a lot of bullshit? No. It's 100% Buddhas. Okay, it's 100% truth. It's 100% wonderful. That's why it's called the wonderful law. That's the law of what occurs. Okay, so let me go at the beginning and then finish it all the way through. This passage is saying that when the single mind is in, when you're dead, okay, that's what it was talking about, glosses on the left and glosses on the right. When you go into non-substantiality, which is usually when you're dead, okay, right? Okay. Your temporary gathering of the 5 components has disassociated, right? Okay, this is to enter meditation. Why? Because what's one of the 5 components? Mind. Okay, so you don't have form anybody, and you can't communicate this in any way. Okay, so without that body, you not perception, conception, volition, right? It's what you already know and what you're going to be thinking about. How long are you going to be there? Okay? In this quietude, he's talking about this quietude is the meditation on the prime point. Do you want to come back exactly without any advance? I mean, do you want to only be able to advance as far as you do in a single lifetime? Or do you want to advance eternally for each lifetime? Between. In other words, make huge. Do you want to take steps or do you want to take leaps? Right. Okay, if you're in quietude contemplating the true aspect of all phenomena, then that would be considered to me to be taking leaps, okay, versus taking some downtime. Right. Quietude, downtime, rest. No, we don't rest. Screw rest. You've got the chance. When you die, he's qualifying it, okay? You want to. And you're going to emerge from that at some point in time. You're going to be out of it. But while you're there, you know, This passage is saying that the single mind is in a state of quietude. This is to enter meditation, and when the single mind is released from quietude, this is to emerge from meditation or to be reborn. To know all those is to know the original enlightenment that is both quietude and release from quietude. To enter meditation and emerge from meditation is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So this is not separate from Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's why I talked about the ninth consciousness. What is he saying? To know all those is to know the original enlightenment. What is to know the original enlightenment? That is to be a Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come one, right? Okay. And that the equivalent of that is both quietude and release from quietude. Why? Because even though you're dead, you're not dead. And when you become alive, you're going to retain everything that you realized when you were in quietude. It is not like you're not. The causal circumstance is not there. That's why you have to make all these causes before you go into that quietude. How you're going to hang in that quietude is predicated on how you go into that quietude. Okay? And if you go into it as a Buddha and you're hanging out with other Buddhas, you're only going to be more capable or more fortunate as you go forward. If you can really understand, maybe you'll be born a king or a prince or something and do the same shit we do as common mortals. I don't know. Okay, but this is qualifying that to enter this meditation and emerge from this meditation is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So to die and to be reborn is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and everything in between. Okay, so there is no time when you're separated from Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Death does not separate you from Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's what it's trying to qualify. Okay? Do you understand? All right. Going on to point 20. The Bodhisattva never disparaging text, but should with a single mind preach this sutra far and wide, age after age encountering Buddhas. Why would you want to encounter Buddhas in age after age? So they can awaken you to the Buddha way. You think it's just going to occur to you? You're going to get under the Bodhi tree to do this? No, you're going to meet teachers of the law like you. You're a teacher of the law. You just don't give yourself credit for that. You haven't developed the confidence to express yourself as that, to really believe that that is who you are. When you believe that that is who you are, then you'll have that attitude. That's who I am. Okay, when you're not certain of it, then you really haven't believed what he's telling you, because he's already told you that is who you are. All right? He hasn't made a distinction about the teachers of the law. In fact, he's going on to say we're already talking about the benefits of the teachers of the law. Must assume we were the teachers of the law. Why tell us about the benefits of the teacher of the law? Right? As it pertains to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. All right. But should with, okay, 21, right? 20 still, okay. But should with a single mind preach this sutra far and wide, age after age, encountering Buddhists and quickly completing the Buddha way. Age after age, completing the Buddha way. What does that mean? That means you will have gone through a process, the first of the 5 stages, and you're still going to have to come up with breaking through the 6th stage, right? Realizing you're the Buddha, right? Okay. Summary. This passage is saying that when one makes clear, like I am making clear what I believe. Now, I don't know how you guys talk to other people, okay? I don't know how you talk to mom and dad. I don't know how you talk to anybody else. I tell everybody I'm a Buddha. I'm not like weird or freaked out about that. You must understand, based on my philosophy, I am a Buddha. That's what we believe. I don't get any blowback for that. All right? So he says, this passage is saying that one makes clear When one makes clear. So what is making clear? That's making the pronouncement or the action that reflects the reward mind. In other words, your behavior reflects what you think, what you say you believe. All right? Okay. The fact, okay, so there he had to put the word, he didn't have to put the word, the fact in, but he's re-emphasizing, if you're reading all this stuff about me talking about all the beings in the Dharma realm, and you're not qualifying them to be equal to you and the same as you, and you're just another one of them, you're missing the point. We're still seeing separation from different kinds of people, different genders, different races, different everything. We still see differences. We're still hung up on attachments. We're not seeing the truth as it exists, which is universal, which does not make distinctions, which is without outflows. That's the encumbrance of karma. Without outflows means original. We have the ability to express the original Buddhahood of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? It's up to us to do it or not, and to be capable to do it. So that's what it's saying. This passage is saying that when one makes clear, what would you have to make clear? To make clear, you'd have to understand what you're talking about, right? You'd have to be believable, right? It means you'd have to have studied the teaching, correct? All right. The fact, and then he's saying, okay, when you make clear the fact, because if you don't believe this, I'm just reminding you, this is the fact, that all the beings in the Dharma realm have from the beginning, what's the beginning? Kuan Ganjo. Okay, so none of us are older than anybody, one another. Okay, we all have the same actual age, regardless of how much of that time was spent in Ku and how much was spent in the 9 worlds. All right? Because we can go to Ku and stay there for a long time. If you want to live that way, you've got that option. All right? So, in fact, that all the beings in the Dharma realm have from the beginning possessed the 3 minds, the 3 truths in their single minds. Then at each moment, then at each moment, one encounters the Buddha in one's own mind. Okay? When you've encountered the Buddha in your own mind, you don't have to find a Buddha to encounter because you are the Buddha. Do you understand that? Okay, so he's already told you, Shakyamuni, where's Shakyamuni? In your mind. Whenever he's talking about, where's many treasures? He said he's in our, the Buddha's already in our own mind. Do you think that Daishonin as a Buddha is not already in our own mind? Do you think Buddhahood in general is not already in our own mind? It's called the 10th world for a reason. Yes, it's already there. It's whether or not you're bringing it forth or not. Okay? You're the one that qualifies whether it's manifest. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means it's not manifest. All right? So, summary. This passage is saying that when one makes the fact that all beings in the Dharma realm have from the beginning possessed the 3 truths in a single mind, that's, what is that? The middle way, right? Then at each moment one encounters the Buddha in one's own mind. In other words, you've attained Buddhahood. Now you can go understand all kinds of things if you'll just believe that you have the ability to understand them instead of becoming dependent upon being taught. Okay? Because he's going to talk about the wisdom that comes untaught. That's what he's talking about. That's where you get it. You get it from that connection with the Gohonzon. When you believe what the Daishonin said about you as an individual, and you make that transition from being an individual to being one of the whole entire Dharma realm, man. I'm one with all of it. That's way more powerful than being separated as a single entity. I don't care how powerful a single entity you are. When you're one with everything, there's nothing more powerful than that. Because frankly, that's godlike. There have been a lot of people that have tried to express that in a different way, and they were expressing what was actually kind of the way it is, But they weren't expressing it properly because they constantly had to hang it on some higher power, some higher entity, not a higher power, a higher entity, something that created us. We don't have a creator. We don't have a devil. Okay, our own lives are where we get to suffer in hell. Okay? We don't go someplace, the wardens of hell and all this shit. It's not anything like that. That's not what are the wardens of hell? How are they in the state of non-substantiality? How do they exist? There's nobody there that has a mind or a body.
It's your life condition.
And outside of that, then there is no Buddha.
Your life condition.
It's your life condition is what transcends this lifetime into your next lifetime. Okay? And if you said, I'm such a badass, go ahead and give me as nasty as you can because I can handle it. I'll do my best work that way. That's what you'll get. It won't be a reflection of some misfortune. You'll understand it at some point in time to be, that's why you are who you are.
When you have faith, yeah, bring it on.
You can't do this without faith.
Right. No fear.
Okay, so I'll say it one more time. Okay, one encounters the Buddha in one's own mind. That's the attainment of Buddhahood in your present form,
Yes.
which is called age after age encountering Buddhas. Because once you've accomplished that, when you see your life as the Buddha right now as you are, you'll never enter another lifetime where you don't come up with that same understanding. Point 6 will manifest in every lifetime. Chapter 21, Supernatural Powers of the Thus Come One, page 216 at the bottom. Such a person, such a person assuredly and without doubt. Okay, now what does without doubt mean? It's impossible. It's impossible for it not to occur. He says, even though he says such a person assuredly, he's saying without doubt. So that's qualifying again faith. Okay? Without doubt will attain the Buddha way. All right? Glosses on the right. Without doubt, the cutting off of fundamental darkness. You cut off the devil of the sixth heaven from being able to impede you from revealing your Buddhahood in your present form. You realize you're more powerful than the devil of the sixth heaven. There is no devil that's more powerful than your enlightened being. Right? Okay, so glosses on the right, without doubt. That means really believing that you're the Buddha exactly as you are. Okay? It's very close to believing it theoretically. It's based on your heart and mind.
Yeah.
How are you perceiving yourself in front of the Gohonzon? Are you still looking at the Gohonzon as something outside of you that you're praying to empower you, or do you already perceive that you're empowered and you're asking for the ability to manifest it? Okay? Because it's so important that we manifest our powers, or else we can't prove the proof of the truth.
Exactly.
All right? Glosses on the left, such a person, the 10 factors of life. This could be anybody. Everybody's got the 10 factors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Summary. So he goes right into the summary. This passage is saying that since each of the 10 worlds is eternally endowed with the 10 factors of life of original enlightenment, both hell and the world of Buddhahood are essentially one. Okay, so no one is cut off from this. And hence we are assured of attaining Buddhahood. This is what is meant by accepting and upholding Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So if you're encouraging someone who is at the bottom of the pit, they don't see a future, they don't see a way out, and they know how bad they've been. People that know how bad they've been subconsciously assume they don't deserve to come out of that. Okay? They don't deserve to be rewarded somehow. They don't deserve to not go to hell. Okay? This is assuring you that you deserve not to go to hell. It's your resistance to the truth that is the difference between you going to hell or experiencing hell in the state of non-substantiality, your mind, okay, or not. Okay, so again, This passage is saying that since each of the 10 worlds is eternally endowed with the 10 factors of life, of original enlightenment, of Kuan, both hell and the world of Buddhahood are essentially one. You can't separate. It's life. It's delusion or enlightenment is the only difference. Okay? It can change in a single moment of life, right? And a single moment of life doesn't last long enough for it to be meaningful in any kind of a permanent way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, since are essentially one, and hence we are assured of attaining Buddhahood. This is what is meant by accepting and upholding Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So we should never doubt the fact that we've attained enlightenment when we feel that we've attained enlightenment. Okay? Like I said, to continue to chant for Buddhahood after you already perceive yourself to be the Buddha is sort of like expressing a doubt about whether or not what you think or you know is true. Okay? And if you know it, you know it. There's no way you could convince that. You shouldn't be able to be convinced otherwise. All right? All right, so are we clear on that? This is what is meant by accepting and upholding Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It means no matter what happens, we already know we're covered. No matter what world we're in, we know we're covered.
Yeah.
Because we do experience the world of hell, right? Even though we're functioning as Buddhas in our present form. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and why do we experience hell? How can you encourage somebody in hell if you don't have a goddamn idea what they're going through? If you've never experienced it yourself, how can you have any bit of wisdom come out of your mind? Okay? Why did I Shonen have to go through everything he went through? It was to prove with his life the truth of his teaching. Chapter 22, Entrustment. This is to us. If in future ages there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one. He's talking about himself. Because he's talking about faith in Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? In future ages, if there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra for them. Alternative reading. If there are good men and good women who have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one, and if you should preach for them, you should preach and expound the Lotus Sutra. Summary. This passage is saying that the enlightenment of the thus come one Shakyamuni has nothing about it that is different from the enlightenment of all living beings. He's not a supreme being. Okay? None of us are. Therefore, to have faith in the wisdom of the thus come one is to have faith in the wonderful law. This is the wisdom of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the perfect teaching. It includes even Shakyamuni's stuff. Okay? That we see it through the lens of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? That's entrustment, right?
Yep.
This is the wisdom of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. How to read everything with corrective lenses on. 23, former affairs of Bodhisattva Medicine King. This is true diligence. This is what is called true Dharma, called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one. Summary. This passage describes a meditation or concentration on the middle way that embraces all forms and sense, that never slackens. This is what is called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one. Because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the soul and only law of the one vehicle, it is called the true Dharma. Both worldly and spiritual affairs are the true aspect that is pure and unalloyed. I'll read it again. He goes straight from one into the other one. This is true diligence. Okay? So what have we been taught is diligence? Trying, making efforts, right? Doing gongyo, chanting daimoku, focusing, studying, that's all diligence, right? Telling others about the teaching, that's all diligence, all right? This is true diligence, okay? What's he really talking about this is true diligence? What is he talking about? This is really when you're ready to devote your very life to the teaching. You're not worried about dying. You do not begrudge your life. Okay? Summary, this describes a meditation or concentration on the middle way. Now, what do you know what the middle way is, right? We're talking about the middle way, the three truths, okay? That embraces all forms and sense. That means it's not separate from anything, and it never slackens. That means that it never ebbs or flows. It's always flowing. There's no ebb to it. Okay? All right. This is what is called a true Dharma offering to the thus come one, because Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the sole law of the one vehicle. It is called the true Dharma. So he's qualifying. There's a difference between a Dharma offering, as you might think of it, in anything that preceded Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. But now that you know Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, this is the true Dharma. And both worldly and spiritual affairs are the true aspect that is pure and unalloyed. You should perceive everything as Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, no matter how screwed up it is. That's hard to do. You should see the three bodies in every person, regardless how screwed up they are. That's very difficult to do. I find myself talking about other people's leaders all the time, okay, in a very disrespectful way, okay? We should endeavor to perceive this correctly, and that's what he's qualifying to us, that the law of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo includes everything and everything, okay? And we should never begrudge our life, and we should never see anything outside of our lives. We should never see anything outside of our lives, okay? Everything, our life contains the entire Dharma realm, is what I tried to just say. I said it backwards. Understand that? Okay, you've heard me say it many times. How often do you really perceive that that is the way it is? That's a challenge. Okay? And that's why he's talking about it like this. He's qualifying it to make you understand it more clearly. If you had doubts, how could that be? He's saying, don't worry about how that could be. That's why we call it the region of the unfathomable. It's called karma. Okay? All you need to understand is that because Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is the sole law and only law of the one vehicle. Now, what's the one vehicle? It used to be called the Lotus Sutra, or the Perfect Teaching, actually. Right? It's no longer, it's Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay? Which is called the true Dharma. We have to start to perceive every time we see true, he's talking about Kuan. He's talking about original state Dharma. Okay? Both worldly and spiritual affairs are the true aspect that is pure and unalloyed. Is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Both worldly and spiritual affairs are Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, is what that sentence just said. Number 24, page 218. The Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound. Thereupon, the Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound, without rising from his seat or swaying his body, entered into a samadhi. Glossing on the right, without swaying, the distant past, samadhi, the land of eternally tranquil light. Okay, evidently, when you would go into one of these concentrations, these trances that they would call samadhis, right? Deep into meditation. Okay. You might move. You didn't just sit perfectly still. You were seated, yeah. You're in seated meditation, so you're trying to get in a groove, right? Okay. Without swaying, okay, without rising from his seat or swaying, entered into samadhi. He just very calmly, like we do. Do we have to go back and forth? No. All right. Glosses on the right. Without swaying, the distant past. Samadhi, land of eternally tranquil light. What's he talking about there? How would you connect that? What's the land of eternally tranquil light? It's a Buddha land, right? Okay. Distant past is perfection of the original state. All right. Summary. This passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past, is which I've been trying to teach you or talk about over and over again. It's kuon. It's without beginning. All right? So when we talk about the original state, we're not talking about something that happened actually originally. There is no origin to the original state. Do you understand? That's why it's the original state. It has no beginning. Okay? This passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past is to be in a state in which the body does not sway. Okay? What is that saying then? I'll read the whole summary and see if you tell me what it says. The passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past is to be in a state in which the body does not sway. To enter the land of eternally tranquil light without having to eliminate obstacles of illusions is called samadhi. This is the samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So what did he just say there? He said that the body does not sway. Okay, to become enlightened to, the truth of the distant past is what? Kuon, right? Okay, what is Kuon actually? Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, right? So what is the truth of the distant past? Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, you can't just keep saying the same words over and over and over again. You have to be able to understand the interchangeability and why he's trying to broaden your understanding. They're not just a bunch of words. They apply to every single thing that you can talk about. Okay? So he's saying, this passage is saying to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past. Which one am I on? I'm on perceive. I'm sorry. No, I am on the right one. Okay.
Yeah.
Without swaying. So in other words, we're not going into anything that's artificial. We're trying to put ourselves in a groove. When we understand the truth, we don't need to make anything fake. We just need to do what we're doing. Okay? So the passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of the distant past is to be in a state in which the body does not sway. So if we're enlightened to the truth of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, then we don't have to go into some force-fed kind of process where we try to put ourselves in a trance-like state in order to see a deeper thing in our mind that we're not able to perceive because it's so deep it's beyond us. Okay? Where we got to go to an ashram, where we got to have somebody else teach us. Okay, all we have to do is understand Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. We don't need another teacher. That's what that's saying. If you understand this, you're supposed to be teaching it yourself. Let alone needing another teacher. You don't need another teacher. There's nothing another teacher can tell you that you don't really already know. They may say it in an entirely different way. You understand exactly what they're saying, but they don't say it the way you do. Okay? All right, so this passage is saying that to become enlightened to the truth of beginningless time is to be in a state in which the body does not sway. There's nothing else for you to learn. If you understand beginningless time, there is nothing else for you to learn. You know everything that there is to learn. Okay? Because if you understand beginningless time, the only way you can understand it is through the teaching of Nichiren. So you already understand beginningless time as Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. You don't think about beginningless time as separate from Nam-myoho Renge Kyo or just a beginningless time as a component of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Beginningless time is Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. That's why everything's connected, right? Okay, it's the original state. We call it the original state even though it's beginningless because nothing precedes it, ever. We don't even let a void precede it, okay? All right, we don't have a nothingness and then something pops out of the nothingness. That's again going back to the provisional teachings.
Right.
Okay? The teaching of Nichiren is that everything has always existed. Everything always exists. That's why Shakyamuni had to first practice the Bodhisattva way. That's what the Daishonin did himself. Do you think that did Nam-myoho Renge-kyo just pop out of his butt one day? No, it was after he had gone to Nara. He had mastered all the teachings. He had seen that they were not matching up with the reality. He then went into his own samadhis. Why could this be? He checked it all out. Next thing he knew, he's giving an explanation of what he's learned on his long trip to the temple that he's going to go, that he started out in. And he comes up with, for the first time, had somebody ever said Nam-myoho Renge-kyo before? Yes. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo had been stated as a title, but never as a mantra, as the truth itself.
Recite.
It was used as an expression. It was It was not used as devotion, the source of all things. Okay. Right. It was that moment that he understood it is the source of all things. I don't think he was carrying that in his hip pocket until that night. If he says it all came to him when he started chanting, suddenly I found myself chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho. Do you think that wouldn't be a mind F? It would be for me too. Right. Anybody would have to go, what the heck was that all about? Okay, was that real? Yes, you know it's real. Right. Okay, you know it's real. You can't ignore the fact that it's real. You must act on the fact that you know that it's real. Okay, you do not begrudge your life. All right. So again, the passages that saying to become enlightened to the truth, to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, is the same as the body that does not sway, to enter the land of eternally tranquil light without having to eliminate obstacles of illusion is called samadhi. That means that we go to the ninth consciousness. This is the samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay, we don't have obstacles of illusions we don't have. Do you understand? If we die as Buddhas, we don't have obstacles of illusions left in our karma. You understand that, right? Okay. This is the samadhi of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the only reason we can go into Ku that way, right? Without obstacles of illusions. Anything else would have been an obstacle of illusion, an opinion. The universal gateway of the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world sounds, number 25, chapter 25, text. He views living beings with compassionate eyes. The sea of his accumulated blessings is unmeasurable. Glosses on the right. Sea of his accumulated blessings and wisdom. Summary, go straight into it. This passage is saying that because both the objective and subjective aspects of the Dharma realm. Okay, what's the objective aspect of the Dharma realm? And what's the subjective aspect of the Dharma realm? And he's going to say are part of the wonderful law and that they're totally equal. So then what is he qualifying here? What's the difference? The passage is saying that both the objective and subjective aspects of the Dharma realm are part of the wonderful law. What is the Dharma realm? Everything around us, right? Yeah. What's the subjective part of it? What we see, only we see that the Dharma realm that way. That's our mind. That's subjective. We're a subject, right? It's the way you see it. That's the way you see it. We all see it from different sets of eyes. And okay? We maybe look at the same thing. We may not see it all the same. Right? Okay. He says, okay, that's the subjective. Now, what's the objective? That would be the way that we all see it. Do we all see the sun come up every day? Yeah. No matter what kind of eyes we have. We see the sun come up unless we're blind. Okay, I shouldn't have used that as the analogy. You understand the point that I'm trying to make? Right. There is an objective reality too. Right. It doesn't, the natural mentality of life is to know a difference between good and evil. That's what religion and all philosophy is based on, right? Okay, so we subjectively or objectively perceive something as good or evil. Okay? We can see that that's bad. Maybe other people don't. All right? But it'll be more than just our eyes. It'll be the act itself. Do you understand? It's not what's being observed, it's who's observing it. Okay,
Right.
that's the difference between subjective and objective. Okay.
Yes.
Of the Dharma realm, everything is all he said there in the first comma to the first comma is everything is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Yep.
Okay, the Buddha looks on every living being equally, whether they're evil or they think they're full of just greatness, as though he or she were his only child, as though he or she were his only child. The blessings and wisdom of the objective and subjective worlds are immeasurable. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo has these two elements of blessings and wisdom, karma and the perception of the truth. All right? Deirani, 26, chapter 26. We will use our own bodies to shield and guard those who practice the sutra. We will see that they gain peace and tranquility. Glosses on the right, treat peace and tranquility appearing in the future. That means incarnating again, right? With the Gohonzon, right? For us. Peace and tranquility would be born into the world to become a Buddha again, to reveal our Buddhahood again, right? Okay, glosses on the left, peace and tranquility appearing in the present. Okay? Okay, did he qualify what kind of present that has to be?
No.
No wars, no famine, no nothing, everything's great? No, just to be alive again. Just to be able to chant, just to be able to be the Buddha. We got to have a mind and a body or we can't be the Buddha. Okay?
Right.
Outside of the mind and the body, there is no Buddha.
Right.
According to our school, right?
Right.
So he's saying that. He's saying peace and tranquility appearing in the present. This is, okay. I'll start from the top. We will use our own bodies to shield and guard those who practice this sutra. We will see that they gain peace and tranquility. Glosses on the right, peace and tranquility appearing in the future in the future. Who would be saying this? Wouldn't the original disciples of the original teacher be the kind of persons making this kind of? Who can? We will see that they gain peace and tranquility. How can they do that? Only by encountering Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. If they don't encounter Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, they got to go through more shit until they do encounter Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's the great blessing, isn't it? That we've been speaking of prior to now. Okay, and we said to know Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. He's talking about blessings here, right? Okay, so again, not everybody is guaranteed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this passage is saying that if persons carry out the 5 practices, they will enter the path of enlightenment. So what are the 5 practices? To read, recite, write down, teach to others, and something else. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but you understand, okay? They're to not only keep things for now, but for the future, and to keep the things from again, all of that stuff. Okay, if we carry out the 5 practices, they will enter the path of enlightenment, right? That is how we finally get to the 6th stage, right? We heard Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and we're doing all those 5 practices, aren't we? We're reading, we're reciting, we're contemplating, exactly, all that stuff. This is what is meant by peace and tranquility. It isn't to sit on your ass and have no problems. Peace and tranquility is to be able to encounter, we will not encounter such a dangerous road. Let me say it again. This passage is saying that if persons carry out the 5 practices, they will enter the path of enlightenment and will not encounter a dangerous road. You're assured of getting on the path of Buddhahood, right? You're not going to get on some other path, right? This is what is meant by peace and security. The peace and security of finding the law again in your next lifetime, right? And helping others as you promised you would. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is this peace and tranquility. Do you understand? It's not a circumstance. We've all taken an individual vow, right? When we were in the state, when we were in our samadhi in Ku, that's when we decided when we will come out. I want right out, right now. Let me back out right now. I miss that stuff. Okay? Or I'm spent. I could use it. Let me take a moment. Okay? That's all up to us. It's a matter of compassion and capacity.
Yes.
All right? Okay, the former affairs of King Wonderful Adornment 27. I'm on the next to the laugh. I know this is long. I can't help it. This is the last time you're going to hear me talk about it in this way. The former affairs of King Wonderful Adornment text. We have been blessed with great good fortune from past existences, and so have been born in an age where we can encounter the Buddha's law. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is what he's talking about when he says the Buddha's law. Even though this is a quote from the Lotus Sutra. Summary. This passage is saying that if one can establish a relationship with even just one phrase of the wonderful law, that relationship will continue unbroken over 1,000,000 kalpas, and one can bring a realization to realization the priceless jewel of the great vehicle, which is known to be born in an age where one can encounter the Buddha's law. This is the Buddha's law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Did you understand that? There is such a thing as having, like when they talk about hell, they're really talking about being born into a lifetime where there is no Buddha to find out about Buddhism. Right? It's just a lifetime that you accumulate more karma without any wisdom. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so you understand what that summary is saying, right? This passage is saying that one can establish a relationship. If you can establish with a relationship with even one phrase, you will encounter the Lotus Sutra. When you encounter the Lotus Sutra, you will encounter the teachings of Nichiren. When you encounter the teachings of Nichiren, you will encounter the wonderful law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Okay? That relationship will continue unbroken over 1,000,000 kalpas. Because when he says even just one phrase of the wonderful law, what is he talking about? Is he talking about the Lotus Sutra? No, he's talking about Myoho Renge. Okay? Kyo is the teaching.
Yeah.
But Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is what he's talking about. Even one phrase of the wonderful law. That relationship will continue. You can't get away from it. Unbroken for over 1,000,000 kalpas. And one can bring to realization the priceless jewel of the great vehicle. That means that not only will you're going to be a badass, which is known as being born in an age where one can encounter the Buddha's law. This is the Buddha's law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. You're going to be a badass. You're going to be a Buddha in your present form. Okay? You're with me?
Yes.
Okay, exactly as all of you are. I know that. The last one. Chapter 28, Encouragement of the Bodhisattva Universal Worthy. Text, when the lives of these persons come to an end, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas who will free them from all fear and keep them from falling into the evil paths of existence. Summary, and he's talking about the last moment of our lives as long as we've maintained faith to the last moment of our lives. That's what he's talking about. The last moment of the life of a person of faith. All right? This passage is saying that when we gain enlightenment into the wonderful law, which we all have, whether you guys believe it or not, we all have,
Yes.
then our bodies that are subjected to transmigration with differences and limitations, what's that? 6 realms. Okay? Then our bodies that are subjected to transmigration with differences and limitations will manifest just as they are. The lands of eternally tranquil light. We'll turn them into Buddha lands. And this is what is known as their lives coming to an end. Let me say that again. This passage is saying that when we gain enlightenment into the wonderful law, then our bodies that are subjected to transmigration with differences and limitations will manifest just as they are, the lands of eternally tranquil light. We die in the realm of Buddhahood. That's why we go to the ninth consciousness. That's why we exist in non-substantiality, okay? Okay. Just as they are, the lands of eternally tranquil light. And this is what is known as their lives coming to an end. That moment of clarity that occurs in the last moment of life when we go from life to death. That single moment of life when we go from life to death is when we realize what we didn't realize up to that moment. Okay? So that we go into the ninth consciousness clean. Okay? No delusion. All right? He's saying, and that's what we call their lives coming to an end. The 1,000 Buddhas are the 1,000 factors. The word hands indicates that we are provided with these 1,000 factors, and therefore we will not fall into the evil paths of existence. These are the hands of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, which guide and protect us. This is the good karma. This is our eternal good karma. We are the original disciples of the original teacher. This is the benefit that comes from being original disciples of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This is the end of the separate transmission of on each chapter. These are the hands of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This is the end of the separate transmission on each chapter on 220. Now I've read the entire OTT. I don't want you to misunderstand. I can imagine how boring it might be for you if I just started turning around and rereading this. No, not from a perspective of hearing it again, but just from the redundancy. Okay? So even though you're going to hear me preach this, you don't have to come here in order to wait for you to get here for me to start preaching it. Okay? So it's time that our Sangha, including the missing individuals, that we all have an ability to connect at one time, in one place, digitally.
Yes.
We don't. We can leave messages back and forth on Facebook. We don't have a means. We could order up a Zoom call. What I'm saying, are we still recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I should stop. That's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.